Tucson. And how many of you worked with the Sandys? The Sandys were the forward air controllers. And ladies, what the forward air controllers do, Leos were divided into two sectors, to the north and the south. We had two aircraft flying day and night in the north and two in the south. And the forward air controllers were OB-10s, Cessna, small aircraft looking for targets and directing the firepower of the fighters. The reason is they shoot a Willie Pete. A Willie Pete is a smoke bomb. And they identify their targets with the Willie Pete, and then the fighters will come in and drop on the smoke bomb. So it was really a coordinated effort in this regard. I've been asked many times, why were we in Vietnam to begin with? And briefly, I'll just say this, and I'll not go any further because we all have different views on that. After World War II, the United States signed two treaties. NATO, North Atlantic. The second treaty was SEATO, Southeast Asia, which included Vietnam, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines, and others. We were called upon to honor that commitment in Vietnam. Unfortunately, we didn't succeed in our mission. The military did, but our political, in my opinion, the political people in Washington put it to us, and it cost us a lot of casualties. So now on with the stories, and I ask Cowboy to allow me to say something on. One is the aircraft moved from Da Nang to Udorn, and just before they moved, they had a staff visit by some high-ranking officials and some generals, and they walked into the command post in Da Nang, and there was a master sergeant, a good friend of mine, and a lieutenant on duty, and the general said, Sarge, I'll speak to your commander. And he said, well, he's flying today, sir. Said, I'll give you the lieutenant, he can brief you. And the lieutenant had only been there a month, and he said, that sergeant knows more than I do, said he'll give you the briefing. And as a result, Frank Chantilly, who lives in Albuquerque, gave him the briefing. And all of a sudden, this civilian, there's about 6 or 7 of them, according to Frank, said, what about bicycle kills? Frank said, what do you mean bicycle kills? I don't see any reports coming from this organization on bicycle kills. Frank said, we don't kill bicycles, we kill trucks. And among other things, and he said, well, I want to find out why we're not getting bicycle kills. And do you know who that gentleman made that remark was? McNamara.
Yeah.
I think he saw a poster or Look magazine where they were taking supplies, and men were coming out of the north with supplying on bicycles. At any rate, now to my favorite story, and I'm taking a little bit too long. Cowboy, I'm with you. 1970, Christmas of 1970. I want to tell you about the Navy. Any Navy people here? Oh, I've got an opportunity to suck it to you.
You're Marine,
here to listen. But you Marines are part of the force, although you say no. The flag order is the battle order of the day. And for your ladies, a flight is Army 4 aircraft to each flight. And when the Navy had a tendency, regardless of what the flag order, the battle order of the day said, they may come up with 2 aircraft. The flag would say 4, okay? But they may come up with 2 or 5 or 6. Christmas Day of 1970, 10:30 in the morning, we had 2 flights of 4 pre-positioned targets. And the forward air controllers out there with their smoke bombs that were ready for them. And Hillsboro was our call sign in Still Tiger South. And the Navy lead called in right on time, and he said, good morning, Hillsboro. Stand by for words. And a few minutes went by, and he said, okay, Hillsboro, switch over to guard. Ladies, and those of you that don't know, guard is international frequency. Everybody in the world, from Russia to China to America, if you're tuned in on guard, you can hear the entire conversation. And Navy lead pilot says, okay, about what, I spoke just a little bit too quick. our senior controller, said, Navy, how many are you today? He said, I'm glad you asked, Hillsborough, we're 21. They launched 21 fighters that morning. We were expecting 8 with 2 targets. So we're calling the forward air controllers saying, hey, we've got extra ordnance, give us some targets of opportunity. And there was nothing out there, nothing moving, no other trucks or anything. So we were having a hard time finding someplace we could bomb the road again. We could have bombed the road the day we did before. We'd bomb them one day and fill it up the next. So, kind of difficult. But anyway, about that time, Navy lead comes back, and this is the punchline of my story. Navy lead came back and says, okay, fellows, let's hear it for Hillsborough. 1, 2, 3. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. So we've got 21 fighter pilots up there, and A6s, A7s, or whatever they were flying. I don't remember the details on that. And they said, we've got a bag of toys for Charlie. We got some Mark 500 pounders, some lasers, and some sidewires. They went through all their ordnance and what they were going to do to Charlie if they could find him. So we did get the first 2 sets on target that was scheduled, and we accidentally found another target. So that's 9 out of the 21. And we had to send those aircraft up to tankers, KC-135 refuelers, and refuel them so they could come down and finish their mission. But when I speak to the Navy, and this is my punchline for the Navy, Laos, as we all know, and the monsoon season is overcast. And it's, you just can't, so we would sky spot, electronic dropping of bombs. But most of the time, we use the Navy would RTV back to the, return to the carrier. But they can't land on the carrier with bombs on board. So they would drop, there was a designated area outside of Da Nang, a bomb drop. And they would drop their bombs out in the water. And I think they dropped more bombs out there than they did in Laos. But the fishermen, the Vietnamese fishermen loved that drop zone. They were out there to scoop up the fish after that bomb went off. So I know we've got a lot of war stories today, and we'll tell them in the next few days. So thank you for the opportunity to be allowed to say something about the Navy CCC unit and all of you guys that supported our efforts and kept us in the air and got us home safely.
All right. Since I'm the youngest, I'm going to now introduce the old Mr. Daniel Marvane. Come up here. You got to say a few words. Come on, Dad.
Yeah, you do. Go for it, man. This is the kind of stuff keeps me away from it.
I like that cane, partner.
Yeah, don't try to take it.
Mr. Marvane was in World War II, Korea, Vietnam.
Thank you.
And he has a groupie out here. It's Keyshawn's mother. So.
All right. Now, I got one short story. It won't take me 3 minutes. Harkening back to Civil War veterans. Now, I wasn't there. The day I got drafted, the policy was at that draft board, march you down to the train station. Well, as God is my witness, we had about 10 or 12 Civil War veterans leading our parade.
Damn, you're old. That's all we can do.
No, I could go on and on and on, but I ain't going to. I'll give you all a break. Who's up next?
It's short 3 minutes.
Well, let's see. What can I tell you about the time? And well, this ain't got nothing to do with Udorn, but it's World War II. See, I was in Merchant Marine most of World War II. Then I decided I wanted to wear a uniform, so I joined the Army. But I just wanted a little story here, and then I am going to go. We was over in West Africa, and wait a minute, do I want to tell this story?
Sure, come on, let's hear it.
No, this is it's a little funny, but anyway, we're a place called Bathurst. It's since changed the name to something since the English got run off. But we went ashore first night, and once I was got in a ruckus in a local bar, not only wrecked the bar, we would messed the owner up pretty bad. So anyway, we all made it back to the ship, and the next evening I was going ashore again. What the heck, you know? And there's a sign on the dock: all crew members of the SS Zarembo must be off the beach by 1745. Well, I got hung up with a bunch of Canadians, and we're sitting having a big time, you know. And somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around. It was I guess it was a black African cop about 8 feet tall, and he had a club, every bit of that long. Now that ain't no lie. And he said, "Are you a Yank?" I said, "Well, I guess you could say that." He said, "I'd like for you to come with me." The Canadian looked around and said, "He ain't going no damn place he don't want to go." And I looked past this cop, and he had about 14 of them out there in formation. I said, "Yeah, I think I better go." So I left. Okay, with that, I could get wound up tomorrow or the next day. Give somebody else a chance.
Good. All right. Anyone else want to speak? Mr. May? Mr. Tom May?
There you run off.
There you go, sir.
Oh, I thought you were on the way. She said she heard the story.
Bear with me just a minute.
Not that one?
We'll tell you a little story about her life. I was back in West Virginia. I was in the Air National Guard. We had the A-26s, C-51s, and the C-47s. Well, I was a bouncer in a local pub, and one night I got shot at, and I realized the fact that wasn't for me, so I went down and joined the Marine Corps. If I was going to get shot, I was going to get shot legally. So I went to the Marine Corps. I went to Huntington to join the Marine Corps there, sworn in with another gentleman who just came back from China. He says, "You put in for aviation, you go to Quantico." Asked him to go to Quantico. I said, "I want to play football." So they said, "Okay, let's go to Quantico." So I went to boot camp, finished it. Taking me a little longer than normal people because I found and I got punished, and I tell you what, I deserved it. I decked a DI and sent him across the room. If you ever went to Paris Island, you know what I got. The day that happened to the day I walked down to there, I caught heck. But I learned my lesson well and good. I deserved everything I got. Went to Quantico, and I worked up there for a while. I started making a little rate, and I wanted to play football. I went out for football, and we had a coach up there by the name of Hal Harwood. I was playing quarterback, thought I had the team made. He liked me, and I felt well in the position. As soon as I thought I had everything met, if you're ever in an athletic realm, you hear some whispering back in the corner, you know something's going on. So a little bit, me, I finally found out what it was. If any of you ever known Eddie LeBaron, way out of College Pacific, was All-American. He was All-American when I was in high school. And here, I wasn't going to sit on the bench at Quantico, so I decided I'd quit. I went back to the squadron. We had an old master sergeant by the name of Tilly Holmes. Tilly Holmes was really, he really ran the Marine Corps like he thought it should be run. A lot of people had resistance. you know, but he was really a great individual. He called me in, he said, Tony, he says, I want you to volunteer for a job. They told me never to volunteer for anything, so I decided I'd volunteer. I said, okay, what is it? He said, well, this is a good one. He said, you're going to work for General Cates. You're going to be the crew chief on the airplane. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, you get flight pay and you get to go to see all the football games that you didn't play in. So it was a good place both back and forth. While at this job, I volunteered to go overseas. My brother was over there. At that time, you got overrun in the Children's Road. The family thought he was gone. They wouldn't let me go. But shortly after, they found him in a Yokosuka hospital in Japan. There was a helicopter at that time was used in Korea to do a lot of work. You've seen the movie MASH. This was one of their things they did then. They saved my brother. So when he came back, I had a terrible accident when I go. I was run over. I was pronounced dead on the car mat there in front of the tower. I was taken to the morgue and spent 13 hours in the morgue. At that time, they was going to embalm me, but the corpsman found that my right arm had fell off of the thing when he pulled me out, you know, the cooler that they pulled me out of. So when they did that, they had I opened my eyes and I could see only temporary, and I could count 5 doctors that was around it. They decided that they would not move me because they did not know the condition of my body. They'd taken the film and also negatives to try to find out how my back and chest was crushed, because I was crushed between Clark tractor and R4D stabilizer in the rear. When the choke wire broke, it came right over the top of my body and pushed me out on the car mat there. So I went back in the hospital and they told me I would spend the rest of my time in the Marine Corps in the hospital. I told them it had never happened. So